Welcome to our September 3rd, 2020 Village Board Work Session. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. You, King, would you start us off, please?
Well, it's not my day today. It's the board's turn to ask me questions. So
Okay.
Can we start with Trustee Brown?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, Hugh. What year was the sea spray in fire? I could give you multiple choice.
How about like 1983?
Close, very close. It was in 1978 in February. Apparently, it was a very cold night with snow up to, your hip kind of a situation. And I don't know if the origin of the fire was ever determined, actually, but 1978, Hugh.
Okay, but it was suspicious. Wasn't the fire suspicious?
Believe so.
Yes, but they never determined the actual, what happened in the cause.
Okay, thank you.
Who's next?
Trustee Harden?
Okay, I hope you know the answer to this, Hugh, because I actually don't.
Maybe somebody else does.
I'm asking so I can get the answer. What was the year of the last graduating senior class from the middle school?
Wow.
I know.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a
Give him a
minute.
chance now. Give him a chance.
Let me see if I take a guess. Hey, 1964.
No. It
No.
was my class. It was 1970.
Oh.
All right.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks a lot for the question. Okay, so 1970?
1970, my class, yep.
Okay. Do you know, anybody, you won't know the answer because I just learned it myself. The class of 1953, where did they have their graduation?
Ooh. Herrick Park?
No?
Bay Labatt.
Oh, yeah, very close.
The
Wow.
VFW. The old VFW?
You're further away.
Oh.
The windmill.
Oh, the movie theater.
Right, the Edwards Theater. They had their graduation in Edwards Theater. Okay, Mayor Lawler.
Okay. What three people were both mayor of East Hampton Village and supervisor of East Hampton Town?
Do you know that that's the question I'm going to ask the supervisor this afternoon?
That's right. Oh, we don't want to give him the answer. I hope he's not watching.
I know the answers, but I don't think he's watching. It's Ronnie Rio, Nelson Osborne, and Jonathan Baker.
Right on. You got it.
Jonathan Baker was the supervisor. He was the first.
Go right ahead. What's your question?
Pardon?
Oh,
Okay.
I think that's Jody talking.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
okay.
caller.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Borchak, your question.
Yes. Okay, mine is a little
How
more
far you think I'm going?
is a little more complicated. I'm going to ask you about the Down Hook area. Can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about the Down Hook area. Before the Methodist Church, before Methodist Lane went in, there were a number of small businesses there. That's the first part of the question. Do you know any of those small businesses, what they were?
Yes,
And
yes.
And the second part of the question is, do you know the building directly across from the post office that's on our commercial property, the front one that's now Creative Playthings or Creative Learning, I guess it's called Creative Learning. Do you know where that original building came from? It was moved there.
No, let's see. I'm going to make up some answers, though. You ready?
Okay.
On the village green, before the village bought that green, there was Lusty Shoe Store, and
Yeah, that's one.
and there was a bakery there for some reason. And now where the Methodist Church is, behind there was the Hook Schoolhouse and the jail.
Right.
And then where that Creative Plaything building is, I don't know where that building came from, but that's where the Strong blacksmith and livery stable was that burned down in 1916.
Right. Actually, they were actually in the empty space next to that building.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right.
They were in the empty spaces next to that building. But that building was actually Cangelosi's grocery store, and it was down on Accabonac Road across from where the Cangelosi houses are.
What? Yeah.
It was, and my grandfather bought it and moved it there in the 1940s, I think it was.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
No, I never heard that.
Yeah. And the other thing, there was also a bicycle shop and a butcher shop down there.
Oh my goodness. All right. The Hook.
They're down in the Hook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I got some of it right. Okay.
Yes, you did.
And oh boy, Trustee Graham.
Well, Mr. King, I'm going to give you a choice, okay? I can ask you to name 2 of the 10 presidents of the Maidstone Club before World War II, or I can ask you to name 5 of the founding members, of which there were approximately 30. And you can take your choice.
Oh, thank you. I get a choice of how I'm going to be embarrassed. Okay. All right. I'm going to go with try to find some members who are founders. I know Dr. Everett Herrick and probably Thomas Moran. I'm thinking of who else. No, I think they're the only 2. Wait a minute. Herrick, Thomas Moran. Nope. I'm stumped.
Okay, I will give you partial credit for Dr. Herrick.
Oh.
He was not one of the founders, but he was the first president.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll give you partial credit. Thomas Moran, yes, was.
Yeah.
He was also the first vice president who then effectively refused to serve. But
What
the
about Frank Wyborg?
nope.
No?
The founders were, or the incorporators, I guess they're called, Frederick Gallatin, Robert Bound, William Wheelock, David Gardner, Thomas Moran, William King, Abraham Mills, Charles Adams, George Monroe, Warren Smith, J. Greenleaf Thorpe, Cyrus Eidlitz, and Preston Smith.
I knew some of those names. John Greenleaf Thorpe was an architect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Now, did you get those names out of that book that Mrs. Rattray wrote? Yep, there it is. The first 50 years of the Maidstone Club, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and then Averill wrote the second 50.
Right. The second 50 years.
Averill guy says, all right.
I
Okay.
have both of those, and the Historical Society has copies.
Oh, good, yeah. Because in that book, the first one, Mrs. Rattray gave a wonderful history of Main Beach and how it started. You know, that's where I got all that information about how Main Beach developed in the late 1800s. She has it in that book about the Maidstone Club.
Yeah. If anybody would like to borrow the book and read it, because it really is quite interesting, going back in the, back that far, I'd be happy to lend it to you.
Okay. Well, thank you all for those questions. Now, at the next meeting, unless I'm elected to something, I'm not going to speak. Okay. But I will bring some questions. You're going to have enough to do. All right. So at the next meeting, which is the
18th,
third Friday in September, right?
September 18th.
Okay. I will bring questions for the new board, the old board, the hybrid board, whoever shows up. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be
All right. Thank you for your questions. This has been great. Now, can we keep doing this? Because this is how we learn, right?
Love it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great. Thank
All right.
you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we enter into the public comment portion of the meeting. So we'll just give a few minutes to see if someone's going to call in with comments. Anybody have any questions while we're waiting? Jody, any phone calls?
We have no callers on the line.
Okay. just give it a little bit longer, and then we'll move on to the discussion portion. And if we have to let somebody in between our discussions because they call in, then that's what we'll do. Okay, so if there's no phone calls, let's move on to discussion items. The first one being Affordable Housing Code and Memorandum of Understanding. Becky, could you just give us an introduction to that, please?
Sure. I provided the board with a cover memo regarding a memorandum of understanding for the village to enter into with the town of East Hampton. As you know, the village board has engaged the services of Nelson Pope Voorhees, who, as part of their multi-pronged study of certain items in the village, housing is one of them, and zoning, how it's related. And as you also know, there has been an apartment unit in the village that is awaiting its final approvals from all of the various agencies, the village, Suffolk County Department of Health, and the town of East Hampton, as TDRs are involved for the creation of what will be an affordable housing unit. And through those conversations with the final development of that unit and with Nelson Pope Voorhees, there will come a point in time that the village board will, in order to ensure that the units remain affordable in the spirit of the law, that an entity will be needed to administer an affordable housing program. So the town of East Hampton, obviously everyone knows they have their own housing authority. Tom Rule has been part of the committee that trustees Borsak and Graham sat on regarding the housing. And Tom expressed some interest in being the initial intermediary to ask the town to be the administrator. There are other municipalities, such as the village of West Hampton Beach, where they have designated the town's housing authority to be their administrator in an affordable housing program. So we just recently received word from the town that conversations with the town board, that they are supportive in entering into a memorandum of understanding with the village to administer any affordable housing program. But the first step before entering into that MOU is the recommendation that the village board adopt a code regarding the administration of affordable housing units or affordable housing. So what you've been provided with is a copy of the Village of West Hampton Beaches Code that I wanted to provide to you as a guideline and as a starting point in drafting legislation for the Village of East Hampton. And based on what's contained in that code, that program will be administered by the town of East Hampton's Housing Authority. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, or in reviewing West Hampton Beaches, if there's any provision that, jumps out at you that you disagree with, or, support, or just generally speaking, support it as a whole, then that can be a guideline for Beth and I to work on a draft for the village board to consider and put out for a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. I also would like Billy Hajak to comment if he has any information for us. Billy?
Hi, Mayor. I don't have much to add. Becky summarized it pretty clearly. If you have any specific questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. I just would point out that the Trunzo project is creating 2 apartments.
Oh, it is too. Okay.
Okay, anybody on the board have any questions?
I don't really have any questions. I think that it's really a very good idea. I mean, it's a win for us because it'll save us money of having to administer this, and actually having the mechanism in place will make it easier for us when we are able to create more affordable housing.
Right.
I agree with Tiger or Trustee Graham. I especially like the provision within West Hampton Beaches code that gives preferential eligibility to EMS volunteers, teachers, and so forth. I think we all agree they're the backbone of our community. And later on in this meeting, we actually have a letter of resignation from someone within the EMS, and they specifically state how it was so difficult for them, to travel back and forth. So if we can have some workforce housing within our community, whether it's within the village or the town, that's a win-win, as we said earlier, for everyone involved.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
No, I think it's great. I mean, Tom Rule has been great to work with, and he's more than willing for his department to help us out at the housing authority in the town, and that's great for us.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on board with it as well.
Okay, so then we're in agreement. We should move forward and have Beth and Billy and start to formulate something that would be specific to our village in regards to affordable housing and working with the town to administer it. So we're all in agreement on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, I also have a question. We were talking about Nelson Pope and Voorhees, how they're working on identifying some housing that could potentially be used for workforce housing, such as, the apartments that used to be above the stores, enabling them to go back to that use and so forth. When can we expect that they'll be presenting to the board some of their findings?
Becky,
Yeah.
Can you help us out with that?
Yeah, they're working on an inventory. Obviously, a lot of our stuff has been delayed due to COVID with people in and out of the office. We actually had to provide some assessment role information to them, as the information through the town wasn't complete, having to deal with merged parcels and things like that. So they're still working on it. So I would anticipate shortly we'll have something from them.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so then it's agreed. We'll have something drawn up that's specific to our village, and then we can go from there and have whatever public discussion we need to have on that. All right?
Okay.
Thank you very much. So next on the discussion is telecommunications code and policy. Billy, did you have any information for us on that? Billy Hayjack?
So Becky provided you with a memorandum. It basically explains that the town of East Hampton is working with a consultant to create a wireless inventory and study to basically inventory where there are gaps in service and where there are existing coverage and facilities, and to rewrite their code to be compliant with up-to-date FCC rules and regulations. The village has essentially no regulations that govern personal wireless services or cell phone usage. And it would be prudent to at least have some regulations to give us some help to review these applications when they come before any of the boards. And it would also be helpful to inventory where there's gaps in use coverage and identify sites where it might be helpful to provide more coverage. Specifically, village-owned properties would be good. So that's essentially it. It's to sort of piggyback on the town's study.
Okay.
And the town supervisor has agreed in allowing the village access to its consultant through a similar agreement that you have with the town on the coastal assessment resiliency plan.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of shared services, and that saves the taxpayers money, which is great.
Okay. And am I to understand that we would need some sort of a policy or a code or something like that to help us to prevent some possibilities of litigation from some of these cell companies? Am I correct in that, Beth? You know?
You mean adding a telecommunications to the village code?
Yes.
Yes, that's what the town has that. I think what they're doing now is they're anticipating updating what they have based on what's been going on and everything. So. Okay,
so and basically what we don't really have a code that addresses that at this point.
Right. You don't have anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
The village. The only thing you have right now is that if an application for something of that nature, for example, one of the more recent ones was for an antenna over at the Skank Fuel property, and that only went through DRB. They did receive a building permit, but the project never came to fruition.
Okay. All right. Do we know exactly how many antennas are in the village jurisdiction? we have any idea?
I do know that when I was on the DRB just recently, I believe there's an antenna right there at the First Presbyterian Church.
Mhm.
They were talking
Yes.
about in the
There are
steeple.
three, there are three cell
So-
providers at the Presbyterian Church. Three.
So, and this will also identify possible locations within the village. Did I read that in
On
your message?
village property, correct.
Right. Well, I think we're all concerned and would like to improve our reception. So,
Yeah, I would also like to see them not only look at the areas where there is reception. I mean, we all kind of know where there is no reception, where they could fill those holes. But also, I have found myself in times when I show 5 bars, but the calls drop because of lack of bandwidth provided by the providers. So I would like to see them take a look at that as well, not just, where the coverage is and isn't, but, how much bandwidth they're providing at those towers.
Okay, I mean, that's something I can certainly ask them. And, that if they're able to come back with that, then the board can vote, to authorize their services at the next meeting.
Right. I think the issue of bandwidth, since there's so many more people out here working from home, using bandwidth, using cell phones all the time, it really has become a problem. And
I'll definitely ask him.
it works into a safety issue. So
For sure. If you have to dial 911, sometimes it's a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're all in agreement then. Let's move forward with this. And again, Beth, if I could have you look into adopting whatever code is necessary to help us move forward with this. All right.
I think
The consultant is going to come up with a proposal,
All right.
yeah,
Fine.
right now you're just looking into
hiring the
moving forward with
consultant.
the consultant.
Okay. Good. So we're all in agreement on hiring a consultant then.
yeah,
Yes.
All right. Very good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. We'll move forward with that. Next on the discussion agenda, outdoor dining extension. I've been considering extending it to December 1st. Other jurisdictions have done the same. I just wanted to get a feeling for how the rest of the board feels. Does anybody have any suggestions or comments?
I think you should do it.
yeah, I agree too. I also think, as chair of that committee, along with Ray, that we should reconvene that committee, really hear from the committee, the restaurateurs and so forth about what's been working, how they would tweak it, especially if we would like to consider codifying that on a more permanent basis in the future. But I fully support extending it to December 1st. If the weather's nice enough and people are serving lunch, I don't know about dinner, but to December 1st would be great.
Okay. Anybody else?
I agree. Hopefully we have a mild, November and they can get some extended use.
Yeah, Mayor, did we, I don't recall, did we allow them to put heaters out?
No.
Or
No,
they were
that was
they
not
were not
part of it.
allowed?
That was not part of it. In fact, that's been a discussion. Maybe that's something the committee could take up.
Right. I think if we're going to keep it open until December 1st, I think they probably would like to have heaters out there.
Well, I think we could reconvene and have another meeting, and that could be something we discuss. We'll get back to you.
Okay.
I agree.
And there is some time on this because as of right now, the outdoor dining is done pursuant to executive order. And I've been extending them every 5 days. So, if the committee is able to get together, because right now the orders read, until November 1st. So basically, so there is some time to make the decision on the outdoor heaters before it needs to be included in any executive order that would be issued. So it wouldn't pertain to, in theory, an executive order that is going to get issued till, mid-end of November.
Okay, great. So excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I would recommend then that we, at some point, set a date for the committee to reconvene and discuss it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any other comments? All right. And I assume no phone calls, Jody, I guess?
No,
All
no
right.
callers on the line.
Okay, so let's move forward then with our resolutions and motions portion. Trustee Brown, could you start us off, please?
Sure. The first resolution, I make a motion to adopt resolution number 52-2020 to accept full-time EMT paramedic Nicholas Anthony Kahn's resignation dated August 18th, 2020, effective August 31st, 2020.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Passed and carried.
Make a motion to employ Luke Campbell as an interim lifeguard effective September 4th, 2020 for the 2020 season at an hourly rate of $16.50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None, so carried.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings held on June 4th, June 19th, and July 2nd of 2020.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None, so carried.
Can I just say a word of thanks to June? Because these minutes having to be word for word, that's a huge burden for her. So thank you, June, for all your work on these minutes. I know how hard that's been.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and I think we all agree on that. So thank you very much, Julia.
I'd like to make a motion to approve change order number 1 on the Village Hall Restoration Project in the amount of $9,623.63 as per August 26th memo from Robert Hefner.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None, so carried.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve change order number 2 on the Village Hall Restoration Project in the amount of $19,730.92 as per the August 26th memo from Bob Hefner.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? None, passed and carried.
Mayor, I just want to note, just for the record, that that project is being paid out of the Capital Reserve Fund, that it's not being borrowed for. So those monies for those change orders are already fully funded.
Okay, and I just also would let people know that this sort of thing is not unexpected. We're dealing with an older building here, so many times these things happen when you take off some of the outside sheathing or whatever. You find that there's some unstable wood or something underneath, and that has to be replaced. So this is not something that's unanticipated.
Yeah, as someone who has an old house, I can tell you it always happens. Very depressing sometimes. Okay, now I'm going to make a motion to approve the $17,141.41 purchase of a Swenson stainless steel salt spreader. Boy, that would make a good tongue twister. Off of Suffolk County contract VMS-091018 as per Dave Collins' August 31st memo with the attachment.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None, passed and carried.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 53-2020 to appoint Stephen E. Lasquadaro, Esquire, as special counsel for village election matters for the September 15th, 2020 election at the hourly rate of $450.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None, passed and carried. Okay, that concludes our portion of the resolutions and motions. Anybody have any comments before we adjourn and go into executive session?
No,
Okay.
enjoy your Labor Day weekend, everybody.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Labor Day weekend.
All right, can I have a motion?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
That's great.
Where you decided to keep Main Beach open during the week after Labor Day, typically it's closed for the public. It will be guarded and the bathrooms will be open as well, just so everyone knows.
Thank you very much for that. I forgot about that, but thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn and enter into executive session? If we need to re-adjourn for a public meeting, we'll notify the media.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. I'll see you in the executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.